Yo, what's good? So we have another reaction for today. This one is called "Why Dreams Further Prove Simulation Theory." We're gonna get right into this, but I do want to say this real quick: like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I want to say that I consider myself a person who understands the basic structure of reality and what this is. I make videos about it on my YouTube if you haven't seen them. I have a Patreon that goes really in depth, and I'll also make a YouTube video about how we have 12 planes, 9 main dimensions, the 5 arc verses, because I have a good understanding of reality. Now simulation theory, right, actually does have some truth to it, which I'll make a separate video about. Do we live in a simulation? Because here's simulation theory, right? It says simulation theory is a philosophical concept that proposes that the reality we experience is actually a computer simulation created by a more advanced civilization, meaning that our entire world, including ourselves, could be a complex computer program designed to mimic a real existence, essentially suggesting we might be living in a virtual reality rather than a true reality. Now, this has some truth, but not in the sense of like, it's not like we're in like a fucking computer and aliens are fucking just controlling us. Like, it's not like that, but there is some truth to this, which I will break down in a separate video about do we live in a simulation? And then I'll also make a video after that about the basic structure of reality with the 12 planes, 9 main dimensions, 5 arc verses, so on and so forth, right? But let's see what this guy says because I am interested. I've not seen this video. I'm watching it with you guys, so let's get into it. Shabam.
There's a movie that came out, We Met in VR. So it was about romantic relationships that started in VR chat, which is
How do you explain dreams? Do you think dreams are like a simulation within our simulation potentially because we obviously knock out every night because we have to, I guess in your video game interpretation it's be like you got to get your energy back, right? So you got to rest up and give your body time to heal. But when we do that, we're totally suspended from reality at the time. We don't know what's going on. And if we get REM sleep, we get into this deep place where suddenly strange things that are even outside the realms of physics, in some cases in our mind, and certainly outside the realms of reality, occur that we don't have control.
I'm curious how this guy would describe. I mean, he didn't really describe dreams yet, but I'm curious what he would think about leaving your body because some of these people who be in simulation theory don't talk about leaving your body sometime. I haven't really dived into this, but I'm kind of assuming actually, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're aware of leaving your body and how that's separate from dreaming. Because I do leave my body and I do dream. They're very different. And but you can actually dream out of body. You could leave your body to create your own dream out of your body. It's interesting. But anyway, let's just keep on going with the video. Let me hear what the guy says first and then elaborate more on some of the thoughts I'm thinking later.
Over what it is, but it comes into us somehow.
yeah.
Let
So
me go back
That
up.
we, in some cases in our mind, and certainly outside the realms of reality, outside the realm of REM sleep, we get into this deep place where suddenly strange things that are even outside the realms of physics, in some cases in our mind, and certainly outside the realms of reality, occur that we don't have control over what it is, but it comes into us somehow.
yeah, so I do write a little bit about this. So dreams are a fascinating subject, and in fact, they're one of the oldest subjects that people have written books about. There's probably more books written about dreams in human history than really any other
Yeah.
subject, just because everybody dreams and everybody has been dreaming as long as we know. Uh, so dreams are like mini simulations. And in fact, so in my book, I laid out the 10 stages to get to the simulation point, which are technological stages. And I said at the end of this, we would be able to build a virtual world that was indistinguishable from physical reality. It would have beings that appear to be real, whether they are or not. In some cases, there you may be a multiplayer universe. We would forget that there's a world.
Based off what he's saying, I think that he would assume that leaving your body is just another simulation. I think that's what he would think. Because I was gonna get to that. Like, if he thinks that dreams are a simulation, he'd probably think the same about leaving your body too. That's just my thoughts about that.
Outside of this world. And so all of these conditions are actually met by dreams for the most part every night. So they are like mini simulations. And there are some psychological theories that say, okay, what are the purpose of dreams? And dreaming is a subject that there's a term that
I'm gonna answer this question for y'all. So why do we dream? We dream for many different reasons, right? So, what even is a dream? A dream is an astral experience that usually occurs inside of your mind. However, they could also be unconscious slash subconscious out of body experiences. Now, what's an astral experience? An astral experience is any experience that you have with inside of the astral plane. What's the astral plane? The astral plane is the plane of imagery. The astral plane is what gives the image to actual things. The astral plane in your astral body. Well, let me say this: the astral plane is experienced through your imagination, because your imagination literally is your astral body. Now, what's your imagination? Your imagination is a faculty of your mind which turns information into images, right? Now, you can fantasize inside your imagination, but you can also just receive random images, right? You don't have to fantasize in your imagination. You could just receive images, right? So I'm saying this because when you have a dream, you're inside of a certain plane of existence, right? That deals with imagery, and you see various different things. Now, usually people define dreams as taking place inside of your own mind, because they usually do. What the typical dream is taking place inside of your own mind. Now, why does this happen? You're simply just experiencing your mind on a visual level. Which your dreams can give you messages if, with inside of your mind, you're in contact with certain intelligences which try to guide you inside of your life. You know what I'm saying? That's when you have dreams that actually try to teach you things and give you wisdom. But if you're just like in tune with like the basic bodily urges, right, you're gonna experience the intelligence of your body. So you might just dream and then dream about eating food because you're hungry. All you're doing is experiencing your mind and seeing what's going on inside of your mind. Because you could think inside of your head, but you can also turn those thoughts into images. That's what your imagination does. So because when you go to sleep, you're pretty much becoming unaware of the physical reality, and you become more aware of astral realities, aka realities that have imagery, and some of them take place inside of your own mind. So when you're going to sleep, you go back inside of your own mind and you see what's inside of your mind. And if your mind is in tune with certain intelligences that guide you, you'll have dreams that try to guide you. You know what I'm saying? If your mind is open to receiving messages from the future, you'll have dreams about the future. If your mind's just open to your body and bodily intelligence, you'll have dreams about your lust and dreams about your hunger. You know what I'm saying? If you're contemplating certain issues at the time, you'll dream about these issues because you're seeing what's inside of your mind, those issues. You know what I'm saying? So why do we dream? It's really just the fact that, well, if you're not aware of the physical, you become aware of your own mind, and then you see your own mind, and you experience the visual images, or you experience the visual representation of the information with the side of your mind. Now, with that being said, sometimes you can't leave your body, but be unconscious of it, and you'll think it's like a dream, but you were actually out of your body. But I'm gonna keep it simple with the whole entire. You're experiencing your mind. You're just experiencing the information inside of your mind, but you're seeing it as imagery rather than just basic thoughts. That's why dreams happen.
That So there are like mini simulations, and there are some psychological theories that say, okay, what are the purpose of dreams? And dreaming is a subject that there's a term that people use called overdetermined, where all these people have put out these ideas of why we dream, and many of them are actually probably true. So it's not like just one of them.
What I said was true. I know it for a fact, nigga. I've talked to various other beings about this shit, especially the fucking Arcturians. You know what I'm saying? And also, it's just kind of basic science as you understand your own mind and you understand your own spiritual constitution. See, me, I don't just read books, nigga. I experience life. And you can experience your own, you can experience your own soul. You can experience your own mind. You can experience all of your different bodies. You can experience your physical body, your etheric emotional body, your astral imaginative body, your mental body, your soul body, or just simply just your soul, your architectural spirit, your eternal spirit, your oversoul. You can experience all these things. So as I've experienced my life in these various different facets of life, I've came to certain understandings, and I've also talked to other beings that people consider aliens. You know what I'm saying? It may sound crazy if you're new here, but I don't really give a fuck what you think. I have videos on my YouTube. This shit is true. I know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? This shit is true. Like what I just said was facts. You have dreams because you're seeing what's inside of your mind. Because you're not aware of what's going on in the physical. You're just more inside of your mind, and you're seeing what's going on. You may see your repressed emotions expressed as images. You know what I'm saying? You may see the future because your mind's open to receiving future information because time isn't linear how most people think. So because people say time isn't real, linear time is an illusion, but we can't say time isn't real. Like the passing of events are real. You know what I'm saying? But it's just an illusion. Illusions are still real, but you're just seeing it in a distorted manner. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's true.
So time being an illusion, time is still real. People just perceive it in a distorted manner. I feel like I should have added that. So yeah, time is real, but it's just an illusion. Illusions are still real, right? You just don't perceive it in its proper form. So time is still real, but we're not perceiving it in the most clear form. We have a distorted view of time, but it's still real. It's just a distorted view of it.
Is it recycling stuff that we did during the day? Well, yeah. I mean, you can observe that, and you can actually see something you saw
Yes.
during the day, and it shows up. Is it? Do we sometimes talk to our dead relatives? Sure.
Yes.
Sometimes we do. Is it efficient? Is it needed for rest? Yes. Right. Some people have psychic experiences in dreams. Some people do lucid dreaming, where they're, in fact, in the Tibetan traditions, there's a whole yoga called dream yoga, and the idea is you learn to wake up with.
It's crazy. I have an astral projection course, which will teach you all about astral mastery, whether it's with dreaming or with leaving your body. Inside that course, I give some teachings from Tibetan dream yoga. If you're interested, links down below.
Within your dream, what we call lucid dreaming today, but it was done in a spiritual context. And once you do that, you realize there's a part of you asleep in the bed, and this is not the real world. This is a dream world. And so that metaphor then gets used to realize when you're awake that there's a part of us that's kind of asleep, if you will,
Yes.
a bigger part of us. And so that's an actual spiritual practice that they do. And the Buddha used the analogy of the dream for the world. In fact, Buddha means one who is awake. Right? A woman asked him, who are you or what are you? He said, I am Buddha, I am awake, was what it meant at the time. Well, if you can be awake, that means the rest of us are probably sleeping, right?
That's why I say simulation has some truth to it, because this reality is very dreamlike. You know what I'm saying? But it's not in the sense of like you have these other beings who trapped us in a simulation and we're not even real. It's not like that. But this reality is kind of simulated. You know what I'm saying? But it's like a natural simulation. It's not like a computer. Unless you define computer a certain kind of way, how most people think about a computer, it's not a computer. You know what I'm saying? It's natural intelligence that forms all of this, not artificial. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'll get to that in a different video. But long story short, that is very true. Tibetan dream yoga teaches you when you become lucid inside your dreams over and over again, you can become lucid here and see how this life is also like a dream. But it's not a simulation that's made by some other being where when you're in a computer and you're a program and you're not even real, and you know what I'm saying? That's not fully what it is now.
And so the dream idea goes back many thousands of years, as a metaphor.
And then emotionally speaking, as human beings, I got a couple more things for you, and we've really covered the gamut today. This has been great. But emotionally speaking, the beauty of life, like we were saying earlier, it's the back and forth of the euphoria after being knocked down and things like that. But it's also the emotions that come with that. You look at the most powerful ones like love. If we are the RPG version, are we really feeling that? Or do we can we have the real capacity in this reality to feel true love with
That's
another
a good
individual?
question. Considering that you're a program, right? Even that's kind of true though, because we do program ourselves. We technically your character is just a group of intelligence, which kind of is a program in a certain way, but not like this. I already keep saying it's not like a fucking computer, literally, right? But considering that it is, right, is what we feel actually real? I mean, we experience it as real. But if you play a video game, if you're playing GTA and you're being Franklin and get hit by a car, like he's programmed to feel pain. You know what I'm saying? But like, is he really feeling pain? Now, this is deep because this is why you do have certain monks who could like walk on top of fire and not flinch. like they don't feel pain because pain kind of is a program. Pain is supposed to tell you that, yo, you're experiencing something which may cause harm to you. You know what I'm saying? So then you feel the pain, which makes you stop doing. Like if you touch on a hot stove, or like, let's say touching like a hot stove, right? If you couldn't perceive it as hot, you might keep your hand there and then fucking burn away your whole entire hand. But because you feel the heat and it's dangerous, you feel pain and you get away from it. You know what I'm saying? So our body is programmed with that. You know what I'm saying? Like technically pain and other emotions technically are programs. You know what I'm saying? Like love is felt through oxytocin and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like there are like technically that is a program in a way. But it's a natural program, not like some artificial computer shit. But that's a good question. I wonder how the guy's gonna answer it.
Well, I think so because to me it doesn't in the RPG version you're not really ruling out that the emotion is experienced by the player and the avatar together, right? So and you're playing with another person, right? So you actually are experiencing. So I referenced the metaverse earlier, and you did.
So in his mind, if I'm playing GTA, right, and I'm being Franklin, and then Franklin gets hit by the car, that means that I would feel it too, like as the player, because he says the player and the character, or however he said it, that's what he said. He pretty much said that if I'm playing GTA and I get hit by a car, I'm gonna feel that. If Franklin feels love, it's because I'm feeling love. That's what he's kind of saying.
Did too, and we talked about Second Life, and there's a movie that came out. We met in VR, so it was about romantic relationships that started in VR chat, which is kind of another metaverse type environment, but one that uses actual virtual reality headsets. And so many people meet in these virtual environments and they go on dates within the virtual world because they're in different physical locations and they get to know each other and they develop a real relation. Then later they meet in real life and then they get married. I remember meeting several people like that who actually got married. And it happens not just in metaverse, it happens in video games too. And so I think the experiences we have are still important experiences that become a part of us, as we go. So there was a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode a long time ago. I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but
I wasn't. No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay. Well, there's one called The Inner Light, and
So look, I want to add this real quick to what he said before. To him, it's not like playing GTA and you're controlling a controller. It's more like a VR, I think. So I think about this, right? It's like you're like in a VR simulation, which kind of makes more sense why you would feel what the character feels, because like you're literally like being the character. You're not just like controlling the character from a goddamn my phone's spinning. You're not just playing the game, controlling the character from a remote. You're actually like being the character, like it's some VR shit. You know what I'm saying? And then like whatever you do, the character is doing like whatever you physically do in real life, the character is also doing it because you're controlling the character with your own body. So you experience what they experience. I can see that. I can see why that would make sense inside this worldview.
in it, Picard gets like some probe. Captain Picard of the Enterprise gets some probe that sends some light into his forehead. And there's an episode a long time ago. I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but
I wasn't. No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay. Well, there's one called The Inner Light, and in it, Picard gets like some probe. Captain Picard of the Enterprise gets some probe that sends some light into his forehead, and the next thing he knows, he's this guy on this planet with a wife and kids, and he thinks he's a starship captain, but he's really living on this planet, and he lives this entire life, in this world, and then he comes back at the end of it. He's back on the Enterprise, and almost no time has passed, but he has those experiences. Yes. He can play the flute. He creates the flute that he had on that planet. He remembers
a different version than Matthew McConaughey Interstellar, in a way.
In a way, yeah. There's a different version of that. Yeah. So I think that the experiences we have are important. That's why we're here, and those experiences include emotions. I think that's a key part. And when people report near-death experiences, they talk about, love on a more impersonal level. Yeah. and a higher level. But the love we experience here. I remember some folks online were like, "Oh, if it's all a simulation, that means nobody's real, and therefore, none of this means anything." And I said, "Well, that's if you take the NPC approach.
Yeah.
But if you take the RPG version," I remember somebody said to me, "I think my husband's an NPC." I said, "No, let's assume that your husband is also a Source player, and you are too, and you have both agreed to be here together to have these experiences." Now, but then I come up with this idea of NPC mode, where it's more when people aren't thinking, right? They go into NPC mode, I think, is something that happens, where they're just reacting off their programming.
Gotcha.
I actually like how you said that because this is a cool twist to simulation theory. I could kind of get behind this a little bit. Like I said, I view things a little slightly different, but to him it's like because like a lot of people hear simulation theory and it's like that means that we're not really real. We're not real, we're just programs. But to him it's like this character is in a simulation, and then you have you that's not the character, but you're experiencing yourself as if you were the character, and everybody else you meet could be like that also. Now, when they're not thinking, they're inside pretty much when they're not conscious. When they're not conscious, they're not inside NPC mode. But the more aware they become, the more of a real player they are, just like you. Which that literally is how life is. It's just not a computer though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, technically, real life, like, technically, you are a character. Then you have a soul, right? Your soul is, like, more of your quote-unquote true self. But even beyond your soul, you have your spirit. And then you have your oversoul and omni-soul. Then you have yourself becoming source. You know what I'm saying? Or what people call God, the Most High, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Because we all come from that. That's why in the Bible it says God breathed into us. Because that breath is an aspect. That's just saying that the source creator, right? God gave us an aspect of his consciousness, a piece of him, because we literally are just tiny fragments of that. So you have a giant ocean, and we're waves inside the ocean. Some waves are big, some waves are small, but it's still a part of the ocean. So with that being said, people who have more awareness, they're like bigger waves in the ocean, and they're more of like a quote unquote real player. They're not inside NPC mode. You know what I'm saying? And everybody else that you meet, they're not like fake. It's like you're my fault because I'm starting to. Long story short, let me just break. Long story short, this is kind of valid because it is true. You are, keep it simple. You are, your authentic self is your soul, but then you do have this character. You can experience life, right? Either as the character or as the soul. And the more aware of your soul you become, it's like you're a bigger wave who understands more about themselves and about life. You know what I'm saying? This is actually this what he's saying isn't really false unless you only think about it as a computer. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's like a artificial computer. No, this is a natural creation where it is a simulated reality in a certain sense, and you're not experiencing the full truth of all things, but you are still like an actual being, right? You're not like a program. You are an actual being. But you stepped inside of this character which has programs just like everybody else. And everybody else is real too. It's just that some people are not as conscious as other people. You know what I'm saying? So like that part is real. That part is, you know what I'm saying, facts. But yeah, but it's not a computer though. This is all natural. This is a natural quote unquote simulation, which I'm gonna break down more into my video about do live in a simulation. It's gonna come out soon.
Okay, so there's mode levels to it. Got it.
Yeah, so that's
Last question for you. Based on everything that you found going down this rabbit hole and extrapolating it since 2016 and considering what all the possibilities are, do you believe that at the beginning of the universe there's a God?
Oh, good question.
I think that, when you talk about God, it's difficult to talk about it because it's such an all-encompassing concept. Yes. And I think, once again, I get back to that word ineffable. Do I think there's a creator that created the simulation? Yes, I think that there is some element of it. Like, if you go back to, there's a Persian philosopher named El-Ghazali who, I don't know, hundreds of years ago said, if you look at the arguments for God, and he gave like 3 or 4 arguments for God, and he said, well, there must be a prime mover of the universe, therefore, then that prime mover you can just call God, Or he said there must be a cause, and therefore you can call that cause God if you want. But I go back to Yogananda's example of the film projector, and he says this is the film, but he said look back at the light.
He said yoga. If y'all know who that is, I think it's Paramahansa. I forgot to say that. But Yogananda, he is a certain yogi. He made a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi. And this, okay, so I think he's on some natural simulation stuff. Technically, he's not like a. All right, because here's what I'm saying, right? If you read that person, he's talking like this guy is a yogi living around other yogis who do crazy things. Like he has one story about how this one person literally manifested an amulet out of thin air. There's another story about I think it's Sai Yogananda's books. I've read a lot of books that are kind of like this, but Sai Yogananda's book, I'm pretty sure it's his book, where he said that he was in one location talking to like some dude, right? And the dude told him to go to the other location and that he would meet him there. You know what I'm saying? Now the thing is, the guy never moved locations. Like the guy, like, let's say you had to go to, you had to say you had to go from India to China. It's not what it actually was, but pretty much, Yogananda's inside India, and the dude says, "Go to China, I'm gonna meet you there." You know what I'm saying? And then Yogananda goes to China, and then meets the dude there. But the thing is, there was just two dudes. Like it was one dude here, one dude here. The guy pretty much had two bodies. The guy had two bodies essentially. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much, it's a guy who Yogananda is living around all these yogis who have crazy powers. You know, like the stories about like those immortal monks who could do crazy stuff, like walk on mountains, and you know what I'm saying. People who could walk on water and walk through fires and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like these things, people have written books about it. You know, so if he's reading Yogananda, then he has to understand the fact that this simulation we live in is like a natural simulation. There's no way you're reading Yogananda and thinking that it's like some computer shit, because Yogananda not teaching no computer shit, but he will explain how this reality like is pretty much a dream, because it literally is, but it's not some computer generated shit. It's more about something that's generated by consciousness and intelligence, which is universal and flows through all of us. But I'll make a video, okay? But back to this video.
Light that's projecting. Like, what is the source? What is the projector? And is it, you can view the simulation hypothesis as purely a metaphor, as a way to describe something that it cannot be described very easily.
Okay.
Or you can view it more literally and say that the world is composed of information and that information is getting rendered. Both of those, I think, are correct, actually.
Okay.
You can view it.
What he just said, that's true too. This shit is built by information, like literally, like reality is information, and what he just said, that's true, but it's not artificial information. That's the part we gotta, you know what I'm saying?
It either way that you want to. But whether it's like a physical computer the way that we think of it, I would have to say it's the computational system is so advanced that it's more like a world of a quantum computer. And then you start coming into who programmed the quantum computer, and you get into the mind of God. So I think in a very impersonal way, definitely there is something that could be the prime mover, whether it's God the way that we in the West tend to portray it. I don't know that I would personalize God in that way, but
Yeah, how most people view God is very distorted. That's why I'm making a video also called "Why God Fails You," or "Why God Constantly Fails You," because people don't see God correctly, and because of this misunderstood perception of God, they try to interact with this God, but the God they're thinking of is not fully true how they're thinking about it. Therefore, it's gonna always fail them. When people properly understand what God actually is, they can properly interact with God, because God is not some person in the sky who's watching you. How people want you to think about it. Even the Hebrews who wrote the Bible didn't always think about it like that. Even like based off the name Yahweh, Yod Hey Vav Hey, which are the Hebrew letters, that literally, I'm gonna break this down in the video about why God constantly fails you. Like, just watch that video when it drops, because I'm gonna explain what God actually is, how to properly interact with God, how people misunderstand God, what God actually is. Let me get into all that, bro. I actually made a video. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I made a video called "I Just Met God." You could go watch that to kind of get a gist. But I'm gonna bring that video back up in the simulation video, and I'm gonna talk about how that all relates to my topic of the topic I'm speaking of. You know.
You can have individual entities who come from that. You know,
And it starts somewhere.
yeah, it starts somewhere. It's almost like going back several levels.
Yes.
If you will. If we are outside of the simulation as players, maybe you only go back one more level beyond that, and that is we are all part of something that is called God.
Riz, you blew my mind today, man. It's been a lot of fun. Thank
not
you
mad
so
at
much
that.
for doing this. Your work is, I mean, it's deep.
And the fact that he said that we're players means that it's kind of like we consciously chose to do this because other people who think about simulation theory, they think it's like just some computer that's been made by some higher being and that we're all artificial programs and that we are not real, we're just programs. But this guy's saying that no, like we are players, but we're just experiencing a certain level of reality that's not fully real in the sense of pretty much how we would be as returning to those players. Like while inside the simulation, we become these characters, but when we go back beyond the character, that's the true reality. And yada yada. I could get behind his theory and stuff like that. I'm not mad at it.
Deep, to say the least. So
Yeah,
I look
well,
forward to hearing more about it. I know you have more projects you're working on. So when
All right, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure. All right, that's it for this video. If you guys want more reactions, make sure you drop a like and show support so I actually know you guys like these videos. Comment if you want to say something about it. Um, if you guys want me to react to it, if you guys want me to react to a certain video, let me know. It's not guaranteed. If I don't like the video, I'm not gonna watch it. But you know what I'm saying. Like I'm not watching no 20v1s. I'm not watching no pop the balloon, nothing like that. We're not doing that on this channel. You know what I'm saying. But for like intelligent stuff like this, okay, I'm cool with that. Spiritual stuff, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying. Self improvement, I'm cool with that. So if you guys want to watch stuff like that, recommend some vids down below. And that's pretty much it for this video. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I love you. I'm gonna catch you in my next video. Peace, the freak out.